Zilch left, 35 Wichita Macho
Dice
Toe.
right, F5.
Dice right numbers, 3 Jet Spielberg.
Ready? Right. All right, welcome back to episode 6 of the Pre-Snap Pressure Podcast. I'm Nick Colazzo, of course, joined by Ryan Shapiro, and college football season is officially on us. We had the first slate of games last week with week 0. Don't know how much you were able to watch. I know both of us watched fully the Iowa State-Kansas State game, which might have been the most sloppy opening to a football season I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, most week zero game of all time.
Is something about the rain in Ireland make the ball more slippery? Because I felt like I was watching Georgia in regular weather last year throughout the whole game. So
a lot of drops.
That's what I was referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, geez, dude. There were a lot of cool plays though.
There were. I got really exciting. It was kind of boring at the first half, but it got really exciting. But even if it's boring, was so happy to watch that game.
I was just happy to be watching college football again.
Exactly. So we were kind of wrong in our prediction last week because we said whichever quarterback plays better, their team was going to end up winning.
Yeah.
Rocco Becht played. Avery Johnson played okay as well, but he was definitely better than Becht. Yeah, Rocco Becht, especially through that first half, just wasn't very good.
I was gonna say, I still think first half Rocco Becht was better than first half Avery Johnson.
Rocco Becht had one good drive in the first half, but he also had like 2 good drives the whole game.
Avery Johnson had like 3 completions in the first half.
That's true. So, yeah, it was mainly the defense is keeping it in. Carson Hansen then turned it on at the end of the game, and at least is the player of the game for me for Iowa State, despite only having 71 yards. Because when it mattered, he turned into the player that he's supposed to be. So
yeah, Carson Hansen ended the game on a really high note. Even in those first couple of quarters, in that first drive, when Iowa State ran the ball like 4 times to start the game off in a row, I was like, yeah, keep doing that. They're not stopping it. And then they threw the ball 2 times and the drive was over after that. So
now, granted, both these teams were without like what kind of made them good last year. Iowa State, obviously, they're replacing 2 NFL receivers in Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. And then for Kansas State, you had Dylan Edwards go down on his first action in the game. He returned a punt, muffed the punt, and then ended up getting hurt for the whole game. So I don't think we know the severity of his injury yet. Yeah, there's been no further word. He was just ruled out for the rest of the game. So they were without their best player, and still it was a pretty close game. So with him, obviously, I think we're talking about a different ball game, but I don't know.
yeah, I mean, with him, I think Kansas State's also playing a different game.
Yeah, I feel like they're a little more offensively inclined the first half. Anyways, the other game I wanted to talk about from week 0, which I had a really fun time watching, was Stanford and Hawaii. That also was another just perfect example of a week 0 game. It started off really slowly, picked up towards the end. Hawaii ended up winning on a walk-off field goal. These are the type of like matchups that I love seeing on week 0 when there's not your team on and there's not really any other big teams on. So the only football we have is an ACC team. We're talking like bottom 5 ACC team versus a Mountain West team. And
I'm talking bottom 3 ACC teams.
Yeah, I wanted to be, a little less harsh, but no, that was a really fun game to watch. Mike Alejado had a really good game. Michael Ford for Stanford was pretty much carrying their offense the whole game, and just came up just short at the end. So that was another really fun game to watch. And again, just so happy to be watching football.
I was so excited to just see the game on my screen again. I woke up at 8 in the morning for college game day.
I did too, and was really disappointed when there wasn't technically college game day, but I get why there wasn't college game day.
I completely understand. I'm not mad at all. I'm the only thing I'm mad at is the fact that I
got up at 8 a.m. to watch it and it wasn't there. Yeah, me too. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, up to the reason why there wasn't college game day for week 0. But moving on to just general news around college football. The SEC finally gave in and is now moving to 9-game conference schedule starting next year. So they'll have kind of similar with what they have now. They'll have 3 permanent opponents. Those haven't been released yet, but I'm assuming they're going to be roughly the same as what they are now.
They should be.
They should be. I mean, I don't see why you would. They're going to prioritize, long-standing rivalries and such. And then for the other 12 teams, you'll rotate in and out. You'll play each team twice in a 4-year span, and you'll play at every away stadium at least once in a 4-year span. So with the 9-game schedule, it makes it seem a little bit more fair to me, because at 8 games there would be, gaps of times where you wouldn't see teams for 4 years. That's not a thing anymore. And that's something I liked about the new format SEC when Texas and Oklahoma joined, that it kind of made it more possible to play a more variety of teams, because, under the division format, you were playing the same 7 teams in your division. You were playing your permanent West opponent, and then you rotated, through opposite division opponents every single year, and it just kind of didn't seem very fresh. Like, still to this day, Georgia's yet to play Texas A&M. I know that for certain. Texas A&M's been in the division, at least as an SEC opponent. They've been in the conference. What is this? They're going on year 13?
Yeah, 2012. Yeah.
Georgia and Texas, or at least Georgia's yet to play at Texas A&M. That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
Yeah. I was gonna say. I thought it was play at Texas A&M.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I was a slip up there. But Georgia's yet to play at Texas A&M. Last year was the first year Georgia played at Ole Miss, I know, since like 2016. There's a couple other ones. I think LSU Tennessee is one that I think hasn't happened all that much. I don't know. There's a lot of big names that just didn't play each other a lot in the old SEC model, and I like with the new model that we're going to get a lot of more of these big names playing each other during SEC conference play. So
that's your soapbox on it?
Yeah, that's my soapbox on it. Also helps with recruiting. I don't know how much, but yeah, it's a positive impact on recruiting for me.
Yeah, I guess that's like maybe something that like other conferences had on the SEC beforehand, but no, I mean, I think it's a good thing, honestly.
Yeah.
This is already the toughest conference, so it's kind of hard to build your schedule outside of the SEC, and so
Wait, hold on.
be
Say that again.
what
The SEC is what?
already the best conference.
Okay, cool. Just making sure we had that repeated.
It's an understanding. I feel like if you don't understand that the SEC is the best conference, you can stop talking respectfully, because it's like, okay, yeah, the Big Ten has won the last 2 natties. Wow, great. Congrats. Let's look at the last like 10, 15 years, and it's mostly Alabama, Georgia, LSU. Like, honestly, those 3 teams are just the best 3 teams in college football. Let's be real.
I find it so funny. Again, a little off topic, but I find it so funny when people try to use, especially Ohio State fans, they'll use the argument, well, the Big Ten's won the last 2, they've won the last 2 national champions, so they must be the best. But then they'll ignore that logic when it comes to talking about the past 4 years against Michigan, and then they'll default to, but what about the last 15? Just saying, it's a double standard.
But like, you can't tell me that the SEC is not the best conference. We literally had, I think, sorry, not we, but the SEC literally had like 6 teams right on the cusp of making the playoffs. And probably, I mean, like the Big Ten, what, had 3 teams, 4 teams in the playoff last year? 3 teams?
3? If
Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana.
Oh, they had 4 because Oregon.
Oregon, you're right. For some reason, they're in the Big Ten. And the SEC still had Texas, Tennessee, Georgia. They have 3 or 4.
I think they just had 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Just the 3? Right. So but they still had South Carolina, Alabama, LSU,
Ole Miss,
Mizzou, I mean, multiple teams that were right there on the cusp of making the play. Like if they had won one more game, they probably would have been in. So it's you also had 2 years ago, you had 12-1 Alabama go in over 13-0 Florida State. Why? Because strength of schedule matters.
Yeah.
You had and
I think there are some other reasons for that, but yeah.
yeah, obviously there were other reasons that went into it, but you know, you still had you still have those situations where it's an SEC team. It's like, well, you know, that one loss was to a playoff team.
Like
So
if
it's not that bad, and it was early in the season, so it's
like
like they could be better right now.
my logic about that whole playoff thing 2 years ago, if Florida State wants to get mad at anybody, don't get mad at Alabama. Get mad at Texas for losing to Oklahoma because that set the whole thing up.
Yes, yes,
Anyways, so yeah, SEC moving to 9 conference games. They also have mandated a 10th Power 4 out of conference game. So that's just another layer to the scheduling parameters. Granted, a lot of teams do that already, especially with a lot of rivalries. We have Kentucky, Louisville, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Clemson.
yep,
So I feel like that's not that big of a change. I think it's just a measure to not allow SEC teams to go full Indiana and schedule
yeah.
nothing but bottom feeders in their 3 non-conference games.
FCS schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the way they handled that is great, and now everyone can stop talking about it and go back to understanding the SEC is the best conference.
Yeah. I agree. um Anything else to say about said
I
topic?
mean, it's you can also throw in like it's it could almost like disregard the strength of schedule argument
It
because
I mean it could.
you're gonna have 8 SEC teams in the playoffs then because I mean if you look at it right now like the top 20 is already 16 of the strength or in the strength of schedule rankings 16 of the top 20 teams are all SEC schools. That is, every single SEC school is already in the top 20 in strength of schedule.
Let's
You add one more game and mandate that Power 4 game, which I think already every single SEC school does. You mandate that Power 4 game. You have 10 games that are all considered tough games.
I mean, yeah. Like you kind of just said it right there. It's that was kind of the whole point was, Greg Sankey said that the decision based to move to this format of scheduling was okay. We understand that the teams who get in the playoffs are based on strength of schedule. So we're going to completely embrace this, I guess, metric. I don't really know the
Yeah.
term for strength of schedule, but this metric, and we're going to make sure
Yeah.
that we are, like, if it comes down to strength of schedule, we have the edge.
Yeah, and I think that's always been the case too. But I mean, even now, it's like, well, you've got a 12-1 Florida State team who lost to Louisville versus an 11 and or a 10-2 South Carolina team that lost to the two teams that are in the SEC championship game. Those are clearly two of the best teams in the country. Louisville could be ranked 25th, but maybe that loss was a blowout. I'm putting in the two-loss team
Yeah.
personally.
And we saw it last year with, should SMU have won the ACC championship, Vinny was ready to put Bama in at the last spot over Miami, despite Bama having an extra loss over Miami. So
Yep.
now we never got to see that because SMU had to go and lose the ACC championship and let Clemson walk
Mm.
into the playoffs. But oh well.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next topic of today. Of course, it's a new season, and there's always some coaches going into a season who have, I guess, lessened the amount of space on the rope they have, and it's kind of made the current season a do or die year for them in terms of do something successful or you're gone. what coaches do you think have the biggest hot seat going into this year?
Biggest hot seat for me right now. I'm gonna throw out. I think this is the obvious answer,
Brian Kelly.
but yeah, I'm gonna throw out Brian Kelly. I think that's number one, the biggest guy. I mean, I didn't realize this, but uh, every LSU coach since what was it, Saban?
Saban has
Yeah,
won in what, second year national championship?
second year. So for or first 3 years, just to give them that chance. Um, but yeah, it's one in their first couple of years as a head coach, and Brian Kelly still hasn't done anything. Now, I think this is a great LSU team, but if they don't get the job done, I don't
Uh,
really see what other direction he can
yeah, I'm
go.
not gonna lie. I don't. He had a team capable, I think, of doing it 2 years ago. He had the Heisman winner. He had two first round receivers.
Yeah,
This team could potentially be better than that team. So you have to go out and now get this team to somewhere successful. And I agree. If he doesn't, I think he should be fired. If they lose
I'm trying to.
more than 2 games, I think he should be fired.
Yeah, I just if they even miss the playoff, I think he should be fired. If they do nothing in the playoffs, do nothing in the you know can't even win a bowl game or a playoff game, I don't think there's any reason they should keep him.
If he
Um,
does get fired this year, I know exactly who they're going after next.
oof.
Well, let's just say, where did they get Brian Kelly from?
Yeah,
Problem up there
I
is
could see that.
Notre Dame doesn't pay. They are very stingy about paying coaches, so I feel like that's why that could be an easy target for them. Hey, Marcus, we'll give you the bag if you come on down here.
Just win a national championship and you're fine.
He went to one last
He's
year.
he coached at one, but I'm trying to think of like other coaches that I think should be on the hot seat, like in Power Four,
James
but
Franklin.
like
Same situation as Brian Kelly. James Franklin.
yeah,
This is the
okay,
team to
James
do
Franklin,
something. Go do something.
but he's been there for so long. What's gonna fire him now?
The fact that this is his best team that he's built throughout his whole time here. If they still can't beat Ohio State, if they still can't win the Big Ten, if they still can't do something in the playoffs, what are we doing here?
Okay,
They're ranked what? I think
okay.
the highest they've been since 1997 preseason. If you're gonna do something meaningful, as James Franklin as your coach, if you're Penn State, it's got to be this year. If not, he's not the answer, obviously.
Naturally, that's the way things go.
Yes.
Okay, but other than those two, like people have thrown out Kalen DeBoer, but I don't see that one
Unless they literally
that
lose
much.
4 games again, I don't think his job is going to be brought into question.
But it's like that's his first year as an SEC coach in one of the most prestigious programs out there, or the most prestigious. Um, I mean, that's a hard place to go coach for a first year, especially
Yeah.
coming off one of the Mount Rushmore coaches, tenures. Like that's a hard place to start off. So I like first year of any like starting like head coach, first year quarterback. Like I put very little pressure on that. So I don't think Kalen DeBoer's too much on the hot seat right now. I think his leash shortened a bit, but I don't think there's I think it was just a bad season for Alabama and people weren't used to it.
Yeah. I mean, we had people calling for his firing after their first loss.
Dude,
Granted, granted it was to Vanderbilt, but that was what.
Vanderbilt was a tough opponent last year.
Yeah, well, at the time people didn't know that, so at the time we were all sitting there wondering how has Vanderbilt taken down number 1 Alabama?
Yeah.
We didn't think, oh, Vandy might be actually kind of good this year. We thought, okay, Bama sucks. That's what we thought.
But Bama literally beat Georgia the week before, so how could they suck?
Maybe Georgia sucked too. Who knows? Um, another.
But like,
Go ahead.
you go.
Well, I was gonna move on to a different coach, but go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Well, I'm
I
not
was
gonna say
gonna.
hot seat because I don't think the situation is anywhere near a hot seat. But I will say, a coach set up for very, I guess, for disappointment this year. I'm not saying that's gonna happen either. I went back and looked at all the ESPN experts, all their playoff predictions. We have Heisman odds to back this up. We have voting to back this up. Texas, everybody wants you to win or everybody thinks you're winning the national championship this year. I feel like it's a disappointment if you don't.
No.
Not saying it's anywhere near a hot seat for Sarkisian, but I feel like if we're not at least going to a national championship this year, because they got now, what, semis the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
If we're not at least playing in the last game of the season, I just feel like that's a disappointing season if you're Texas for me. Just because of how high of expectations is being placed on this team. Now, do I think these expectations are warranted? No, because there's a whole lot of question marks around this Texas team. Could they be that good? Absolutely. But it's just iffy to me.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
That's completely
And
reasonable.
it's reasonable. I can understand. You lined up you backed up your thesis there. No, I disagree with that. I think because of the fact that there's so many actual questions, like people are going on the fact that Arch is going to be the best quarterback they've ever seen in their life.
Which he could be. I
And
just don't know why we're saying that right now.
exactly, which is why if he's not, he hasn't made plans to return for another year, but most signs are indicating, well, number one, if he has a crummy year, he'll definitely come back. But
Even so, I think he's a lot of it's signaling he's staying for 4.
right, exactly. I personally think he'll stay, but
I think so too.
my opinion means nothing there. But I don't think that Arch having a bad year and Texas falling short once again is a disappointment because it would be his first year starting. Like he's played in a couple, like I said, he's played in a couple of big moments here and there, but he hasn't really done anything else. So I just don't think Texas not winning the Natty this year would be a disappointment. Just like I don't think Georgia not winning this year would be a disappointment
No,
because they have what 50%, a little over 50% of their roster is freshman
freshman,
sophomore.
sophomore, yeah.
Yeah, so
No, face value, I completely agree. I don't think it would be a disappointment in the slightest. I'm just saying the way people have gone about talking about Texas in the, you know, in the media in the preseason would make you think it's natty or bust. I feel like internally that's a different conversation because
I don't think it is.
I mean I agree. Internally I don't think it is either. Um yeah, I just feel like if they don't win an natty this year, there's going to be people in the media, like I just said, who are going to question some things. Will I be one of them? No, because I think Steve Sarkisian's a really great coach, natty or not this year. But that's my 2 cents on Texas.
I guess.
Speaking of coaches on hot seats, I'm not asking. What do you think is going to happen if Ryan Day loses to Michigan again this year?
If they didn't win the Natty last year, I would have said fire him.
Fire
But
him.
they won the Natty last year. You can't fire him.
Yeah, even after they won the natty, some people still think he should be fired. I don't know.
He saved his job with that Natty. He did.
He did.
That
He
was that was literally the only thing that kept him from getting fired. I think.
was him winning the natty. Yeah, one would think. And it's
Because
still
okay, like there are literal people out there that are like, I don't care what we do after our rivalry game. If we win our rivalry game, I'm happy. That's a good year. I can talk
Which
to the people that I care most about talking to.
that's madness, by the way. I would absolutely trade, like, if I'm South Carolina, I'm trading a loss for Clemson for you get a guaranteed natty this year. Like, in a heartbeat. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, like naturally, but at the same time, it's like, who'd you lose to though? Huh? Huh? Who'd you?
Oh, well, I do
Who?
that to you.
You lost to who?
I do that to you.
Yeah, it's the same thing Commanders fans do to Eagles fans
I do
right
that
now.
to you
They're
as an Eagle.
with the
You being an Eagle.
yeah with the
I
Falcons,
said
but
you
it's
ain't beat the
like that's
Falcons
not a
though.
rivalry game.
It's not.
That's not a rivalry
It
game.
means
I don't care about the
yeah, but it
Falcons.
truly means nothing.
But the Commanders, like when people are like, "Nah, Commanders are better," they would have won. They would have won it all. It's like, no, they wouldn't have.
No,
Fun fact,
they
we
wouldn't
found that out
have.
in the conference championship
They
game.
wouldn't have.
Uh, so it's like it's like it's nice to win those rivalry games because you can talk to the people you have the most hatred towards when you know they want to talk smack as well. It's like, well, who won the rivalry game this year? I don't want to hear scores. I don't want to hear scores. Bragging rights for a year. That's what that win means.
Well, the way I think about it is those people can have their bragging rights. My team will sit up here with this nice big old ring on my finger. So
I that's a piece of jewelry.
exactly. Your bragging rights are nothing.
That yeah. I mean, yeah, it's whatever. But I don't know. I would get sick of losing to the same team over and over and over again,
No,
personally.
I would too. If we're talking about Ohio State, Michigan,
That's why I hate Oklahoma so much.
4 years in a row is a little nuts. So I understand why there's some haste for Ryan Day. You got to win this year, or else I don't know. You should be fired. Who knows?
Yeah,
Games
no.
in Michigan this year too. Michigan looks to be much better this year.
If they fire him, I think that's stupid.
I agree. Guy still recruits well. He
can win other games.
Odds are, if you're the top prospect at wide receiver, you're probably going to Ohio State because of Ryan Day. Granted, some of that's assistant coaches and such, but how did the assistant coaches get there? But he's a consistent top 5 class. He's a consistent playoff team, and they won a natty last year. Who only Ohio State fans would care this much over a rivalry. I guess to an extent, Michigan fans too, but like, it's nonsense to me.
Well, I mean,
granted, it is the biggest rivalry in college football, but still,
yeah.
you won the prize possession at the end of the road, even if you got a thorn stuck in your side on the way there. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, if I'm sitting in my seat and I'm watching Texas on TV and I see like I think about that Red River rivalry game so much. Like, especially when Texas was my number one team. Like, I would think about that game so much. I was like, man, I hate Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma would beat up Texas every year for like 6 years straight. Like, it really wasn't a game most of the time. There were a couple of games here and there where Texas would win, and it was awesome. It was great. It was great beating Oklahoma. But if Texas were to lose 4 straight years, win a natty, and then continue to lose to Oklahoma, I don't think I could do that.
Really?
That's so annoying. Because there's always that one team that's better than you. Because you always want to be the best. And it's like, yeah, you won the natty. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Something just doesn't feel right. It's frustrating because it's like, man, we won the entire thing. Why couldn't we beat this one team that's going to make fun of us for the whole year now? And it's like,
how do you think I feel? How do you think I feel? Every time
Bama?
Yeah, losing to Bama. The one time, the year my team won a national championship against Bama, we still lost to Bama. Make that make sense.
Okay, but that's no. That's different. That's different.
Uh huh.
That is very similar to the Eagles losing to the Commanders and then beating the Commanders later on. And now I don't care about that game because I know we would have won the rematch.
Yeah, Kirby Smart's still like 1-6 against Bama, so that's still
Yeah, Kirby
very
is not great
frustrating.
against Bama,
Very frustrating.
but he's won two natties.
Yeah, he has won 2 natties. He's won more natties than he has games against Alabama.
See, but it's still frustrating.
Yeah, it is. Now, would I say he should be
So
fired?
that's why
But would I
no
say he should be fired? No, because that's ridiculous.
no you shouldn't fire Kirby. But you can see their point of view now because Michigan Ohio State is a much bigger rivalry than Georgia Alabama. To be honest,
It is, but I'm still not calling for the guy to be fired, especially if they just won the grand prize. So,
yeah. I mean, I can understand where they're coming from because it is frustrating, but I'm not saying they should call for their head
yeah,
right now.
yeah. Now, if Ohio State falls off, yeah, fire the guy.
Well, if Ohio State doesn't win a natty in the next 3 years or beat Michigan in the next 3 years,
Then you can
I'd
fire.
probably fire
Then you
him.
can fire him.
Yeah, you can fire him for that because you're not winning our biggest game of the year and you're not getting to the next biggest game of the year. What are we doing here?
Yeah. All right. Enough about ranting about coaches not related to
Specifically, Ryan Day.
specifically Ryan Day and other rivalries. We're going to move on to the upcoming week. This is a loaded opening week. Well, opening,
Oh
I
my
say.
God, I'm
as
so
if
excited.
Opening wasn't this past week. It's a loaded week one. We've got 7 games here that we want to talk specifically about, but there's so many more. So we're gonna start. There's a bunch of games Thursday, but not really any of them are that big.
Non talkable.
Uh, yeah, not really. So we're gonna start with some of the Friday games. 7 o'clock in Waco, Texas. Auburn and Baylor. Auburn's favored at 2.5. If I'm putting money down on this game, I'm throwing that on Baylor without hesitation. After hearing all the noise coming out of Auburn's camp around their quarterback situation, and then Hugh Freeze saying they're gonna play all 3 quarterbacks in this opening game. Plus, you add in the fact that I think Baylor is a top 3 team in their conference and like is a threat to take the Big 12's bid into the college football playoffs. I see Auburn being set up for disaster.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with you on that. I'm probably not throwing any money on the game, but
Oh, I'm
now
not.
like
I'm not. But I'm just
I
saying,
know you're
if
not,
you
but that's
were,
what I would say.
I
Like if
would put
I
it
were
on
to,
Baylor.
that's what I'm saying is like if I were to be betting, like I'm not gonna throw any money on this game. I don't want to touch this game anywhere. I just want to enjoy this game.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's a great game to start the weekend, the first weekend of college football. And I think you're absolutely right. I think Baylor is going to defend their home turf pretty well, especially hearing all 3 quarterbacks are playing for Auburn, and it's like, well, you just got a transfer quarterback that was starting last year. Like he should be your starter, but he's not. So that's already concerning to hear. The fact that Jackson Arnold, who was supposed to be this big saving grace for Auburn, supposed to fit in their system really well, doesn't seem to be that guy quite yet. And he's got time to grow as the season goes on. But I see Baylor, like you said, I think we both had Baylor. Did we both have Baylor in our championship game for the Big 12, or was that just me?
No, I had Texas Tech and Baylor.
Okay, I think I had Iowa State and Baylor. Maybe.
No,
I
you
don't know.
had
I
Utah.
remember
You had Utah.
I had Utah. That's right. Um, I liked. I do like Baylor though. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to finish. I think they'll finish towards the top of the conference. Um, but yeah, I could 100% see uh a lower tier Auburn team that we've seen in recent history versus a higher tier Baylor team that we've seen really since COVID. uh, show up.
Yeah, I've said this about Auburn in their quarterback search, but I'm going to say it again. I look at Jackson Arnold being brought in to this Auburn system. They dished him a nice check. They brought him to SEC Media Day. This was supposed to be their guy, and now there's been questions about Hugh Freeze's confidence in him. There's been questions about confidence in him from the whole coaching staff. There's been questions about his confidence in himself, and now you're not giving him the automatic start in week 1. Mind you, this is a guy who, when I look at, reminds me exactly of Peyton Thorne, who, by the way, played in an NFL preseason game last night and was the worst quarterback who played. This was in a game with Desmond Ridder being played in as well. That's an accomplishment.
I feel like DTR could break that record.
That's an accomplishment to play worse than Desmond Ridder. So the fact that I see almost a mirror image of him in Jackson Arnold concerns me a bit. The fact that you're also saying you don't have confidence in him at all, by the way, is also concerning. You're also going into a hostile environment at night against a really good Baylor team.
Yeah, I mean, all signs are pointing towards a Baylor win. Also, you want to talk about coaches on the hot seat?
Hugh Freeze is one of them.
I cannot believe we forgot about Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze is one of them for sure.
That dude has done nothing there.
Absolutely nothing. Oh, it'd always be funny. Him telling press reporters to like have patience and him getting Auburn to a point where they can get to a national championship. And somebody asked him about like, you know, Nick Saban doing it in his second year at both schools he was at. Kirby Smart doing it in Georgia, and he's like, oh, Kirby Smart, it took him, 3 or 4 years, right? And one of the reporters told him, no, it was 2. And he's like, I don't know about that. He refused to believe that it took him that short of a time to go to a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm all for letting the process take its time, but
you got to show some signs of progress.
It's still ticking.
All right, moving on to the second game, Georgia Tech, Colorado. Completely new look Colorado, not really new look Georgia Tech. They lost their best receiver. Well, some say best, some say Malik Rutherford's better. They lost Eric Singleton to the portal, who, funny enough, is at Auburn now. But they keep Malik Rutherford. They brought in Eric Rivers, who is the second highest receiving yards from returning receivers, the first being Jeremiah Smith. So that's a really good addition.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech's defense, there aren't any very glaring issues. And then Colorado, we just don't know that much about. I don't think they've yet to name a starting quarterback. It's a battle between Caden Salter, the transfer from Liberty, and then Julian Lewis, a freshman who reclassed to join the team early. He's supposed to be a senior in high school right now. So it's a lot of questions for Colorado, and it's not really a lot for Georgia Tech. They bring back their quarterback. They bring back a lot of offensive linemen. They bring back a really good running back. I'm talking, I think, top 15, top 10 running back in the country in Jamal Haynes. Georgia Tech 4.5. Yeah, I see the Jackets taking this one, despite it being away.
I see Georgia Tech taking this one very easily. I am super big on Georgia Tech this year. I have them in my ACC championship game. I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoff this year. I think they're a great team. Either. I think they have one of the best returning quarterbacks in the country. I think, there's a lot going for Georgia Tech, not a lot going for Colorado. They're almost kind of resetting their culture this year. Like Dion obviously knows exactly what he wants his guys to be, but you lose your starting quarterback and the Heisman winner, it's always going to take a minute to refigure everything out. And I think Georgia Tech has all that pretty much figured out already. They've had their guy now for, this is second or third year? Third year?
Third year at Georgia Tech.
Yeah. Third year as a starter at Georgia Tech.
Yep.
I think this should be a pretty easy win for Georgia Tech.
I agree. All right, next game. Moving on to the Saturday games. Bright and early, 12 noon Eastern time. Number one
11
Texas,
a.m. Central.
number three Ohio State. This is
Mm.
the big game of week one. That pretty sure they'd have announced game day is going to be here, for certain. But I mean, we all pretty much knew that's where game day was going to be.
I thought it was announced already.
I thought it was too, and then I heard one of the guys on the kickoff show yesterday say something about Florida State, and now I'm not too certain about anything. I'm just gonna assume it's in Columbus. Um, yeah. We were just mentioning how Colorado had a lot of question marks. I feel like both these teams have a pretty good amount of question marks, more of them to Ohio State, especially on defense. They lost 8 starters, returning Caleb Downs, which, granted, Caleb Downs, I think, could be the best defensive player in the country. They returned Sonny Styles, who's a really good at linebacker, and then they returned Davison Igbinosun, who's a really physical corner. So those are the 3 guys they bring back on defense, but outside of that, everybody else is brand new starters. Doesn't mean they're not talented. It just means they're a little inexperienced, which we saw with the Ohio State team last year. They were experienced, but if you go back a couple years, their defense was practically the same, minus some key players, but they were nowhere near as good as they were last year. And then on offense, they just named Julian Sain the starting quarterback. If I'm him, there's pressure on you, but you should not be called upon to do that much. You got the best receiving room in the country. You have the best receiver in the country. Just get
Hmm.
your playmakers the ball. Don't try and make mistakes. You'll be fine. Is what I think Julian Sain is being told going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 first-time starters competing, so you know, you're probably saying, you're like, look, there's not a lot of there. This is a big game. There is zero pressure on you. All the pressure is on everyone who played this team last year and the entire coaching staff. There is zero pressure. If you go out there and you throw 20 for 30, give me 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, thank you. I am happy with that performance. If you go out there and give me 15 of 35, 100 yards, and 2 interceptions, now there's pressure on you
Yeah.
because that's a big game. That's a big time opponent that you've just given a lot to. Um, and you're going to have your next couple of games to figure it out, but there's going to be that big looming question mark the entire year.
Now, if I am Texas going into this game, I've heard some, or if I'm a Texas fan, heard some news out of camp that their running game hasn't looked great. Primarily the offensive line. My key to the game if I'm Texas, if Texas offensively runs for 160, 170 rushing yards, they win the game. Point blank, I think if they run for that much, they win the game.
I think if anybody runs for 170 yards on Ohio State, they should win the game.
Yeah, but I'm talking their passing. Manning could be, I don't know, 12 for 17 with 130 passing yards. If they run for 160 to 170, they win the game.
Interesting.
I think, despite also losing some pieces on defense, I feel like Texas defense is much deeper than Ohio State's. They've got a lot more experience in the guys than Ohio State's. Um, and I brought up the rushing statistic not for random. They have Trey Wisner, who was top 5 in the country or in the conference last year in rushing. They bring back CJ Baxter, who was good the year before not playing last year with an injury. And then introducing Arch Manning as a starting quarterback, he just brings that mobile aspect as a running quarterback compared to the past few years where, you know, nobody was really scared of Quinn Ewers taking off.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, the run game, I think, yes, will be important. I think Texas is the key to the game and just control the line of scrimmage. I think Ohio State did a really good job at that in the Cotton Bowl. but I think, you know, Texas is returning a lot of guys on that offensive line. Like you said, there have been a lot of um, stories coming out like these guys might not have it this year. The defensive line, I think, is going to be great.
That
Um,
defensive line is scary, man.
yeah, I mean, Colin Simmons just
That guy's a
on his
monster.
own, and then Anthony Hill Jr. as a blitzer every now and then. Ethan Burke, who's a senior, has come up big in some big moments, and then you bring in Cole Brevard and Murad Watson, who are both projected to start. A couple of transfers. Um, you get those guys out there on the defensive side. I think they should be able to handle the line of scrimmage pretty well. I think it's a big key that Sarkisian has worked on for Texas, and I think it's something that needs to continue to be a focus for the Longhorns because I think you're right. I think if they run the ball 170 yards, you're taking a lot of pressure off of Arch, who's in his first start. So, being able to get that running game going is a big must for Texas, but just controlling the line of scrimmage as a whole needs to happen for Texas to win.
All right, next game. Moving on to is
Wait, we
sick.
didn't make our picks.
Well, OSU by 1.5. Yeah, I'm taking Texas on that.
You're gonna take Texas?
Yeah, I'm taking Texas as just outright to win. I didn't even know OSU was favored. I would surely expect Texas to be favored in this game. Wow, that's
I
actually
wouldn't.
really
It's
surprising to
it's
me.
at the shoe, dude.
Okay, Michigan,
That's a
what?
tough environment to go to.
Obviously
Texas
not that.
lost with partial home field advantage last time,
Yeah,
so
it's obviously not that tough if Davis Warren can go in and lead a team to victory in there. So
yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'll
it's
I'll
tough,
take
but
Ohio State. I'll take Ohio State.
all right. Well, moving on to the next game, Tennessee Syracuse. I smell an upset. Tennessee's favored by 13.5. I think that's bogus. Uh
No way. No way. Hammer that money line, dude.
Tennessee, look, Tennessee, their defense is gonna be really good, like it was last year. Um, Probably have one of the top corners in the country in Jermon McCoy. Um, Obviously the question at quarterback, Joey Aguilar got named the starter, but how good's he gonna be? Had some issues at App State last year, so jumping from App State to the Power Five, it's not easy. Um, and then Syracuse had a really quiet, good season last year. They bring in Steve Angeli as their new quarterback from the portal. Fran Brown, I think, is one of the most underrated coaches in all of college football, and I personally think Syracuse is gonna surprise a lot of people. This is a neutral site game. It's the Aflac kickoff at Mercedes Benz, so we're not worried about home field advantage. Yeah, it's just a new look Tennessee, and I feel like Syracuse is gonna take advantage of that.
I just think Syracuse is the better team.
Oh well,
I
there you go.
I didn't even really like Tennessee coming into this year. I didn't think their offense was going to be anything. I mean, Nico transfers and all of a sudden you're scrambling for a quarterback. And Nico really wasn't that good of a quarterback last year. Granted, he was a true freshman, right? He was a true freshman.
This is
Nico was a true freshman last year, right?
Oh, sorry, I didn't. No, he's a redshirt.
He's a redshirt? Okay. So a redshirt freshman. You have a redshirt freshman and you know obviously he's going to develop from that, but he didn't look good when he started playing real teams. I guess minus NC State, but NC State wasn't great last year. So, you know, like in that Oklahoma game last year, Tennessee looked horrible.
There's a lot of games Tennessee just didn't look good. A lot of last year, and then ended up winning just because their defense was really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so they put up 50 plus in the first 3 weeks of the season. By the way, they came into the season unranked. They put up 50 plus in the first 3 weeks of the season, put up less than 30 for the next one, two, three, four, five, for the next 5 weeks that they played.
Yikes!
Like they,
that was with the leading rusher in the SEC too, by the way.
yeah, those list with the leading rusher, and Nico had less than 200 in every single one of those games, minus the Kentucky game.
Yeah, not good.
No, so that offense was not great last year. Now you have a quarterback who's got like who probably doesn't have much going for him. It's I I don't understand how Tennessee is ranked in the first place, but
And outside of that,
that's not my job.
outside of that, you
Um,
lost the conference leading rusher. Granted, they have other backs, but it's not that hard to just go
that's a
from
big loss.
top back to top back. They lost their a lot of their defensive line production. They lost their first round edge rusher. By the way, was projected the number one pick going into last season. Skid a little bit in draft wars, was still a first round talent. Granted, you bring back Jermon McCoy, like I just said, but there are pieces that need to be replaced on this defense. Granted, I think they're going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. Then you have all the stuff on the offense. It just seems like the perfect situation to witness a meltdown.
Yeah, I don't think Tennessee's gonna win this game, dude.
All right, moving on. Next game was Bama and Florida State. We mentioned this 3 weeks ago when we made our ACC video about Thomas Castellanos calling out Bama before the season, saying that he doesn't think they can stop him. Again, why would you do that? Yeah, I don't see Bama having an issue here.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
Not at
I think
all.
Bama will destroy them. I don't think this game will be close. I don't think it should be close.
Yeah, Bama
And if
13
it
and a
is
half. I'm
close,
taking that.
that's bet. If it's close or Bama loses, now I might put DeBoer on the hot seat.
If that's the one situation. If they end up losing
You
this game.
should not lose this game. Thomas Castellanos is not a great quarterback.
Yeah. I
He's got good plays. He's got his moments, but he's not a good quarterback.
I'm looking at this Bama 13 and a half line, and I would take that and
Yeah,
without
I
questioning
might
it very
honestly
much.
take that 13 and a half.
Yeah. All right. Moving
I just
on. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I don't think Florida State will even compete in this game. I don't know why anyone. I feel like I've seen people picking Florida State. I don't know why people are
Why?
picking Florida State. Yeah.
Makes no sense to me. All right, moving on. We have the second of three top 10 matchups on week one. We have LSU and Clemson. We touched on this in our first episode a couple weeks back, and we both agreed that we think LSU is walking into Clemson and showing them who the real Death Valley is by winning this game, right? Or is that just me?
I think it was you. I said I don't think I'll be surprised, but I don't think they're gonna win. I think it'll be another one of those really good games that Clemson has, or not Clemson, LSU has in week one, where it's a good game. It's a fun game to watch, but I just don't think that they will win, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that edge mostly because of home field advantage.
Yeah, LSU, by the way, they're under year 4 of Brian Kelly. Under him, they've yet to win a week one game. They've yet to win their first game. So there's a lot at stake for LSU here because preseason ranked ninth. Their offense might be the best in the countries. Their
It's
defense
up there.
should be improved. If you're LSU,
Keyword.
it should be, yeah. If you're LSU and you're Brian Kelly, if you think you have the team to push for a playoff run, it would be this team. This team could be better than the one they had 2 years ago with, like I said, a Heisman Trophy winner and 2 first-round receivers. This team could be better than that team. And I'm saying that with complete seriousness. So if you're LSU, you need to win this game. I'd say this is a must-win game. You have got to start your season off on the right tone.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm
I
picking
think
LSU.
yeah, no, I think they need to win this game as well because I would always go into SEC when I'm looking at a team's SEC schedule, and I will always throw in one, maybe two losses, unless they are a top team guaranteed, like top to bottom. I don't see any holes. I will always throw in 1 to 2 losses at least. because I don't think you're going to go through an SEC schedule and win every game. I think LSU needs to win this game if they want a shot at the playoff.
I completely
Because
agree.
let's say you're 3-loss LSU. Let's take a look at their schedule real quick. Let's say you're 3-loss LSU, and one of your losses is Clemson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other 2 losses are, let's say, Alabama and at Alabama, and let's go versus Florida.
Yeah, I was going to say Florida.
You're gonna throw in. You've got 2 road losses against 2 preseason top 10 teams. You have a home loss against a preseason top 15 team. That's 3 tough losses. Those are 3 really good losses to have. I don't think. I mean, if there's another 2-loss SEC team, I'm throwing them in. There's a 1-loss ACC team. Obviously, I'm throwing them in there. I don't know about a 2-loss ACC team. I
I
might just do it.
I
I might
think
just do that out of principle.
less for just systematic playoff reasons with, you got to compare schedules, you have a tough schedule, you have
Right.
tough games coming up. I think more of a identity tone setting purpose. If you're LSU, you need to win this game, because if you have the aspirations that you should have, if you're LSU, playoffs, SEC championship, pushing for a natty, you cannot come out here and fall apart week 1 like you have the last 3 years. And if they do, they end up 9-3, miss the playoffs. Brian Kelly should be fired, as we mentioned earlier.
100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on, the last game is the third of 3 top 10 matchups. Notre Dame, Miami. This is on Sunday. Another interesting matchup. A lot of question marks for these 2 teams. Notre Dame just named CJ Carr their starting quarterback. But they bring back probably the best running back in college football in Jeremiah Love. They have some threats on the outside. Jaden Greathouse is one of them. Basically, what I'm saying is CJ Carr should have the offense to succeed. And Notre Dame's defense, I'm not too worried about it. Miami, on the other hand, I feel like has more question marks. They're bringing in Carson Beck to replace Cam Ward. Mario Cristobal and a lot of Miami coaches have said they think they have another number 1 overall pick on their hands. Which, granted, before last season, Carson Beck was in that top 10 pick range and then had a disappointing season, and a lot of that hype went away, came back, transferred to Miami to try and get that hype back and get back up to that point. But Miami, along with replacing quarterback, they're replacing receivers, and then their defense, which wasn't good last year, also has some question marks. So I am feeling pretty comfortable about going Notre Dame here.
I think Notre Dame's going to win because Burt Auburn missed too many extra points.
You just hate
I
Burt
think
Auburn.
that's why they're going to win. He's going to miss like 3 field goals, 2 extra points, and Notre Dame's going to win by like 10 points because Burt Auburn doesn't know how to kick.
You want all of the Miami fans to feel the wrath that you had to go through that SEC championship game and in that Peach Bowl.
Yes. I despise Burt Auburn now. And you know what? If he wants to play good at Miami, fine, play good at Miami. But when he starts sucking, don't come looking at me for answers.
It's too funny. All right, well, those are the 7 games we have highlighted. Before we end the episode, I mentioned we were going to talk about why there was no college game day this week for week 0. That's because they wanted the first game day of the year to be week 1. It's because it'll be Coach Lee Corso's last college game day. We'll be retiring after week 1. And truly don't think there's been, at least from an entertainment standpoint, not football related, a more impactful person on the game of college football than there has been Lee Corso. So it's actually really sad to say that this week is going to be his last college game day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think you can get anyone to replace him for the helmet picks.
Oh,
you can't do that. Just out of respect.
You can't. There's no way you can. I mean,
I mean,
to be fair,
like even if you do like end up deciding we want someone to start making helmet picks, it would have to be somebody who's already on the table.
if ever there's somebody to replace doing what Corso does, it's going to be McAfee. Absolutely.
Give it to Herbie.
He's not. No. Herbie's too. He that's not his thing.
It's not, but like, give it to Herbie.
All in all, it's cannot be stated more about how much we love Lee Corso, and everyone in the college football world loves Lee Corso, and it's just gonna be really sad to see Saturday being his last show.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that is going to do it for us on this week's episode of the Pre-Snap Pressure Podcast. Make sure to tune in next week. I have all the recaps for you week 1, and then it's right on to week 2 from that. So we will see you guys next week.